Hey, you're listening to the Start Something podcast, where we take you behind the scenes on the founder journey, breaking down what it takes and how it can change your life. My name is Bailey.
And my name is Shruti, and today we're going to be talking about habits, right? It seems like you're a habits nerd.
Yeah.
What's the right term for it?
Yeah, nerd is acceptable.
You were telling me just right before we started this show about how you're obsessed with habits, so maybe just like...
I am.
Yeah, can you give everyone a little context on this little fun fact of yours?
Yeah, thanks for outing me like that right out of the gate. But it's true, I am totally obsessed with habits, and I've been obsessed with habits for about a decade. When I was a teenager, I went through a very, very chaotic period of time in my home life, and I remember the first time I read Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habits. I was a teenager, and I remember, I have no idea how this book ended up in my hands, but I got this book and I read it, and I felt like, oh my gosh, this is the answer that I have been looking for. It felt like a recipe that I could use to move my life in the direction that I wanted to go. And growing up, I was also like really into cooking, so I knew my way around a recipe. And but I loved that, like, okay, when it comes to cooking, we know if we add butter, I'm going to say vegan butter now because you know me, but like we add vegan butter and sugar and flour and vanilla to a dish, and we do it in certain quantities, we know that when we pull that thing out of the oven, it is going to be delicious.
Yeah.
And what I loved about learning about habits is it felt like it gave me that kind of predictability and structure in my life that I craved so much. And so ever since reading that book in high school, I have been experimenting with habits that work really well for me. And every year I try to reread like my favorite books on habits, and no matter whether or not I remember the content, it's so helpful to just re-engage and re-expose myself to some of those habits, because it's a reminder at different phases of my life, oh, this is something I really need. And during some moments, maybe I'll read something and I'm like, oh, I don't really need that one right now, but let me try this habit. I don't really need to focus on increasing my productivity, but I really want to increase my energy. So let me pull some energy habits. Let me pull some confidence habits. Let me pull, any habit from whatever recipe I want to be creating in my life.
Yeah.
And there's just been so much research and expertise that has gone into this field. And so there is nothing about habits that we can't learn from with like a quick Google search,
or
trip to the library,
a Bailey search, since you know
or
so much.
go through my Audible account. The book that I read over and over again, I read it every year, is Brendon Burchard's High Performance Habits. He talks about 6 different types of habits that all high performers use to achieve their goals.
Which one stands out for you? And
so I mentioned energy as one of the ones that I've pulled from, and when I've read his book, because he has 6 different aspects of habit development that he focuses on, every time I read it, a different habit jumps out at me.
Interesting.
And this year, I would say the habit that has jumped out at me has been energy. And we've already talked about this a little bit on a previous episode about morning routines, but I'm super fascinated with the idea that energy isn't something that just kind of happens to us. It's something that we have the power to generate ourselves. It doesn't come from nowhere. As humans, we are energy generating machines. And there are certain things that we can do, practices, habits obviously, that we can do over time, right? That's what makes it a habit. It becomes automatic. It doesn't require any conscious effort. And once we do those things repeatedly, they start to have a huge impact on our lives without us needing to exert any willpower, any additional cognitive resources or energy. It's like they happen naturally. And so I think that's another thing that I love so much about habits is they really do take work for the first couple of months. People have argued about how long it takes to build a habit, but
how long does it take for you?
I would say 2 months.
Okay.
And I really agree with the literature that says 66 days.
Yeah.
But I think, if we go with the 21-day approach, we're kind of we're not really setting ourselves up for success, in my opinion, if we see it as a 3 weeks and done.
Yeah.
Because even if you the habit becomes like pretty routine for you after 3 weeks, you're still integrating it into your life. And so for me, I like to break up my year in terms of like 2-month increments and give myself a new habit for each of those increments.
Wow. Okay.
The thing that has made it really challenging for me to develop habits is when I take on too many at once. When I take on too many at once, maybe I'll be able to do them all for like a week or two, but then I totally burn out and I do not maintain them. And so I've changed my approach drastically. And I think, when I talk to people about habit development, I hear that a lot, that like people will take on too many and then they'll quit. And that definitely resonates. And I think the solution to that challenge is, okay, let's give ourselves 2 months per habit. And it's easy to think like, yeah, but I really want all of these right now. I want the results right now.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, but we get the results by like steadily building on the foundations that we lay, not by trying to grab everything all at once.
So let's break that down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Choose your favorite habit from last year. Talk me through what that 2 month looked like.
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite habit from last year is one that we talked about in our episode about morning routines. But it's the wake up first thing in the morning and walk outside habit. So I got this from an Andrew Huberman podcast where he talks about, he talks about a lot of things, but he's talking about energy and ways that we can boost energy throughout the day and sleep better at night. And the thing that he recommended most of all the suggestions that he had was get sunlight directly in your eyes, like be outside.
Wow.
Try not to get it through a window, like don't, sitting in your car and like looking through, doesn't count the same way. Like get outside and like get that light directly in your eyes. And that has had such a big impact on my life from an energy perspective, which is the habit that I've been really interested in as of late. But it also had a really positive impact on my life from a mental health perspective. I feel like when I get outside first thing in the morning, it's so grounding, and it lets me know like, hey, my life, like, and the experience that I'm having is amazing. Like, this is beautiful. I'm so grateful I get to be here. By going on a walk first thing in the morning, you're also like, you're getting the juices flowing, like you're starting to feel energized even before I drink like my morning tea.
Coffee or tea.
Exactly. But like, I have had I've definitely had a toxic relationship with caffeine, so I actually don't drink coffee anymore.
Oh, what?
Every once in a while I'll have a coffee, but it definitely makes me feel insane when I drink coffee.
Can be friends anymore. It's like a basic requirement.
I was gonna say like, oh, I can drink a decaf coffee, but if someone had said that to me when I was in my like caffeine addiction phase, I would not have been friends with them.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
But I do drink tea religiously,
and
like it's pretty caffeinated. Like I even before I drink my tea, when I get movement and I get that sunlight, I feel like I walk into every single meeting so much better. And on the days that I don't do this habit, I honestly I feel pretty lethargic or exhausted for so much more of the day. And when we feel exhausted at the beginning of the day and we drink a lot of caffeine, then every time we have caffeine, we have a crash. Even if we don't notice we have a crash, we have an energetic crash. And then when we have an energetic crash, sometimes we drink more caffeine, which just prolongs the cycle of crash, crash.
Whoa, that could be a whole song.
Yeah, it's perfect for your morning EDM.
I know.
I'll record something for you.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about habits and with the example that you used, right? Part of the word habit insinuates consistency, insinuates discipline, or forming it into a routine, making it part of your subconscious. How do you get, walking every day? How do you prioritize something like that? How do you prioritize habits in general? Because oftentimes that's what I hear with people. That's the issue with habits today, right? People think, I can better my life in XYZ ways, but people don't do it more than a week, or people don't do it more than 2 weeks, or they're not consistent. So talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that really help me with habit development, and there's a lot of things that like research shows makes it much easier to build the habits we want to make. A lot of people are obsessed with the book Atomic Habits, which has this like really brilliant insight that sometimes what we need to do is bring the barrier to entry down to the thing that we want to do and like make it easy to start the habit. So if you think about it in terms of the 2-minute habit, So if getting to the gym is something that's important, or going on walks, going on a run, like you want to start running, the 2-minute habit, or the really short, the atomic habit, is lacing up your sneakers. It's like I put my running clothes on. Once you put your running clothes on and you've laced up your sneakers, you are so much more likely to go to the gym, or to go on a run, go on a walk. Because the hard thing about habits is like starting the momentum. You know the law of physics that says an object at rest stays at rest.
I didn't do well in physics.
Or
I trust you.
Let me school you. So the law says that an object at rest stays at rest unless it's acted upon by an outside force, or an object in motion stays in motion unless it's acted upon by an outside force. And the point is getting in, like, starting that movement is actually the challenging thing. Like when we're at rest, it's hard to get ourselves to start. But once we've started, it's easy to lean into the momentum that's naturally created.
Exactly.
And, not to be like, a little bit on the nose here, but I think that's one of the reasons why we landed on naming the podcast Start Something, because even if you're not starting your like dream job or your dream company, just starting something, just getting started, just generating some momentum will start to move us in the direction that we want to go in our lives.
And that was the single piece of advice that got me started with Stitchology, right? Like my friend was like, look, whatever you land up on, it's not going to be the same as what you started with. But just start. Yeah. Just literally put a web page out there. Like try to get some traffic towards it. Try to just like put your idea and socialize it and communicate with people. Literally whatever it is. Yeah. I understand that to a T.
Yeah.
And even now it's making me think back, like subconsciously, I actually put on gym clothes. I'm not joking, outside of this podcast, I'm always in gym clothes, like first thing in the morning. And I bought all of these cute sets and I actually invested in them. But to your point, the reason why I actually did that is because if I look cute and I feel cute and I'm wearing a gym outfit, what is stopping me from showing up at the gym? So, seriously though.
You're gym ready 24/7, except when we're filming.
No, should I start wearing it?
We're definitely trending in that direction.
We're just looking nice for the first few episodes, and then we're
just want to get people in, and then go back to athleisure.
But I love everything that you just said. Talk to me a little bit. I'm curious now, because you're such a habit nerd. What are your what are the top 5 habits that have stayed with you over the last few years?
Yeah. So the top 5 habits are definitely at the top of the list, I'd say, is writing. So you and I talked about this again in our episode about morning routines, but this is the habit that has probably had the biggest impact on my life since I started my company. And it's one of those habits that helps me really process with my anxiety, which is pretty chronic, and also my panic attacks, which aren't chronic, but when they're present, they are not a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And writing has really helped me to stay grounded during my experience. And I think being able to stay grounded and to like keep moving forward is sometimes like the most important thing for us as founders. It's like, okay, we never have all the answers, but we have to make a lot of decisions with partial information. And so being able to stay grounded and like knowing that I can trust myself is oftentimes what I need and all I have when I need to take the next step for the company. And so writing really is the thing that helps me like maintain that groundedness. I work out every single day, and working out, if it's a habit that you haven't created yet, like it definitely is one that can feel a little bit overwhelming. But what's so amazing is if you want to like break the momentum, there's so many options for movement related activities that like there's a huge variety of things that we can do. So what's wonderful about like investing in movement as a habit is you can choose something that you're interested in that goes beyond just like, oh, I have to go run on the treadmill, but I literally hate running. It's like,
and I hate running with a passion.
There's so many things. Like you can go take dance classes, you could take a boxing class, like
you can lift.
Yeah, if you want to lift weights, but also going on a walk outside, like a brisk walk, amazing for our physical and mental health. And so,
I was just gonna add, like, how I enforce that habit. I literally block out time on my calendar as if it's a meeting, and I'm like, this is just gym time, and no one can bother me during this time. That way, it's part of your routine. You make it a habit, right? And I know for a fact you do that. Otherwise, I don't know how you're working out 7 days a week and running a company.
Yeah, well, I kind of have to. Like, for me, I really notice an impact on my performance and my mental clarity when I'm not working out. And I really like going to like super early morning classes, like gym classes. Like, I love those. But, and this is gonna make me sound super extra, but sometimes I will still go to the gym. If I go to a morning class, I'll go twice in a day, because one, I do go to a gym that's close by, which is really, really convenient. If it took me 20 minutes as opposed to 5 to get there, that is different. I'd probably get my exercise via like walking or running outside. But for me, I go at 4 p.m. every single day, because that is like a reset that really gives me my evenings back. And I like starting work really early in the morning, because that's when I'm most creative and productive. And so my day starts pretty early, but by the time I hit 4 o'clock, I'm usually wrapping up on the work side. That's not what my life used to look like, but I'm way more productive now thanks to having that boundary.
We need to talk about setting boundaries.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Whole other episode.
And it's not like I won't do work after 4, because actually I do oftentimes. If I go to the gym twice in a day, when I get on the stationary bike, which is something that I love, I will go through my inbox.
I love that.
And I that actually feels really good, because it also helps me to close out the day, because staying on top of email is definitely like the bane of my existence. But now that I'm stacking that habit with my stationary bike practice, it's actually a lot more fun, because I'm like, okay, the faster I get through my emails, the faster I get off of the stationary bike. But also, if I get lost and I'm like really into a message, it has an added bonus of me like getting distracted and not even noticing that I'm still on the bike.
No,
so
literally.
like yesterday I was on the bike. I thought I'd only be on it for like 10 minutes as like a cool down. But I remember looking at the timer and seeing like, oh my gosh, I've been on here for 32 minutes. And I didn't even notice, because I was like so like in the weeds of something that I was responding to, which might sound like I'm a total workaholic, but I'm a founder, so you already knew that.
Yeah. Wait, no surprises there, no judgment there.
So I think that's 3.
Okay.
I think you asked for 5. So the getting sunlight, but also getting outside. I know for me, when I start to like feel like I'm in crisis mode, or I start to catastrophize, which happens every day, at least once.
Welcome to the club.
Going outside and going for a walk helps so much. Like, sunlight and being outdoors is so impactful, even in a city. Like, getting that fresh air and getting out, I don't care if it's raining, like, it doesn't matter. Getting outside reminds you that actually I'm not holding the entire world on my shoulders. And it's so easy to feel like we're holding the world on our shoulders.
It's so easy.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
And so I think getting outside is a reminder, oh, I'm part of a bigger story here.
There are 8 billion people in this world.
I am not totally, I am not the reason that the sun rises. Like, it is okay.
I would like to think so.
Well, you are, to me. I think about this with our pets. Like, everyone most dog owners take their dog on a walk at least once a day. And we do this for dogs. Like, we understand that it has such a big impact on dogs. But I'm like, what about humans? Like, we need to walk too. Like,
no, it's so true. I see a correlation. I was like, should I go get a dog now that Bailey's recommending I go for a walk? Because that would force me to go on a walk.
It would. But I think you travel a little bit too much for a dog.
Yeah. We have a separate topic.
But I do hope that you get a dog so that I can live vicariously through you having a dog.
When you become my neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, okay, Marina, here we go. And then the last habit that I think has had a really big impact on me recently is, and I'd say that over the past year, is cooking at home more. So I have definitely had a love-hate relationship with takeout and with not fast food, but like food that takes a very short amount of time to prepare. So
what is your love-hate relationship?
So like with takeout, sometimes if I'm always on the go, if I have tons of meetings, then it's just easy for me to like go get food out, like get Thai food or something like that I really love, and like keep eating that and eat that kind of as a routine. I also, like, as far as like food that's really fast. I'm kind of famous for eating a lot of oatmeal. Like one of my nicknames in college was oatmeal because I would just show up with a jar of oatmeal like everywhere I went. I know this is super lame.
There's some things you don't need to expose on the podcast.
This needs to be a safe space for me to talk about oatmeal. But like I love. Okay, I am gonna talk about this. I'm not sponsored by oatmeal, but I'd be open to it. By the way. But I love that it's just so fast. It's just water, oats. Yeah. Obviously, anything else is just like making it better, but it's unnecessary.
And it's good for your gut.
It is so good for you for so many reasons. But I started to realize, and I don't remember which documentary this was, but I started to realize how much of our like hustle culture, but also like American food systems are designed to keep us from cooking at home. They say, oh, gotta get more packaged foods, like get things that are processed, like we'll do the work for you. And I find that incredibly suspicious. And I'm like, why is everything around me trying to convince me not to cook for myself? And what I've realized is when I cook for myself, I put so many more like nutrient dense, like fiber packed things into my meals. And I've learned so much over the last year about how beneficial like plant-based fiber is for us. And ever since changing my diet and focusing on getting more plants into my diet, more like whole foods, whole plants, that has had an enormous impact on my energy, on my clarity, on my productivity, like all these things that like just adding more plants to my diet and like cooking for myself more has had. So I used to always say, I don't have time to cook for myself.
It's so easy. Like, that's the thing about habits. It's so easy to say, I don't have time for this.
Totally.
So I almost like, I mean, you've now talked about 5 habits, and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, we're running out of time. But before we run out of time, I want you to tell everyone takeaways on, like, it's so easy, again, to, like, say, I don't have time for this habit. How can someone walk away today and make sure that they think of a habit that would work for them, and they can get started on working on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when it comes to habits, I don't prescribe or like suggest a one-size-fits-all approach. And there are some habits that everyone knows, all research points to the fact that if you write a gratitude list, it will have a positive impact on your life. Like, that's a little bit one-size-fits-all. Meditation, a little bit one-size-fits-all. I know lots of us say, meditation doesn't work for me. I have ADHD. I used to say that all the time. No, meditation works for everyone who has a brain. Like, it does. But that's for a later episode. So there are certain habits that are like just amazing, but what has helped me the most with habit development is getting really clear about which area of my life I want to change. And it might feel at times like, oh, I want to change everything. Like, I need a whole, like, rebrand, 2024. But knowing, what I really need is I want to increase my energy right now. I really want to feel, like, stronger right now. Like, I want to feel strong, or I want to be more productive, or I want to have more, like, cognitive and mental clarity. Or I want to be more confident. Confidence is a habit. Like, confidence and courage, like, these are habits that we can develop. And so what I would really suggest, or like the thing that I would take away from this episode, is when you're looking into habits, don't just Google like what are the best habits and like let someone tell you, oh, these are the 5 things everyone should be doing, so
Please
go do them. Instead, I would suggest like take an inventory of the areas of your life, or ideally pick 1 or 2 that you feel like, this is the thing that I feel most strongly about changing, because change is really hard, even when we're excited about it, which means we need that enthusiasm, that excitement, that momentum to help us make the changes, because even a little tiny atomic habit change is still a habit that needs to be changed.
So powerful.
And it's hard and it's powerful. And so using the desires of like, okay, what do I really need in life right now? And letting that direct the habits. And if you figure out, I want to increase my energy, and you Google habits for increasing energy, pick one. Pick the one that you're like, oh, I'm really interested in that. Not everybody, like me 3 years ago, if you'd said, you just need to cook at home more, I would have said, that's not on the table. Like, cooking at home isn't,
it's not an option.
Yeah, sorry for that pun, but like it wasn't an option for me at the time. But last year when I was like, oh, cooking at home more, this is on the table for me right now. Like, I actually am home more often. Like, this is something that I'm interested in right now. So what I would say is get clear on that area of your life that you really want to work on, or you want to see like tangible changes or impacts in, and then take that to Google or ChatGPT or go read Brennan Burchard's High Performance Habits books.
Or call Bailey.
So good. Or like give me a call.
Give her phone number out.
Yeah, please give it out to everyone. And choose habits that way. Don't let someone say, go develop this and that, and just, take it like blanket statement. Instead, figure out, okay, what is my body asking for right now? And what are the things that I can do? And you don't even need to go to Google. Like oftentimes with habits that are like healthy habits, we already know what they are. We're like swimming in them. We all know we need to move more and eat more vegetables. Like we all know that. But we don't always make it a priority.
100%.
And so I would say if you're walking away from this episode, go run some experiments with your habits. Figure out what works really well for you. Get excited. This is fun. It's fun stuff.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. Thank you so much, Bailey, for giving us all these tips and tricks on habits. I hope you walk away. I hope you turn this off and you start thinking about where in your life you want to introduce your next habit.
I love it. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Good luck. We are rooting for you.
100%.
Okay. Until next time. Thanks.
Oh, we're high-fiving.